Welcome to the HVAC Financial Freedom Podcast, a show where we talk about HVAC business ownership and financial freedom by sharing stories and advice of experts who can help you get there. Now your host, John Victoria.
Hello and welcome to the HVAC Financial Freedom Podcast. We have a very special episode today. We are talking the ERC tax credit and how you can save potentially tens of thousands, if not hundreds of thousands of dollars back through the ERC tax credit. And so joining us today is Mr. Mike Hall, who is the founder and CEO of J&M Hall Financial LLC, which is an investment company expanding across many different industries. You know, Mike has traveled the world teaching personal growth and financial freedom, one of our favorite topics, and his success has landed him as a judge on NBC's The Celebrity Apprentice, which we will definitely dig into later, and he's recently become a published author. Mike has also been in publications such as Success Magazine, Radio and TV, and also was recently published in Inc. magazine for his accomplishments as the CEO of one of America's fastest growing companies in 2020. Mike is currently a founder and the president of expansion for Jorns and Associates, a specialty firm focused on the employee retention tax credit, which we are talking about today. Welcome to the show, Mike.
Thank you very much. I like the intro video. That was awesome.
Thank you. And so I'm really excited for today because a lot of things we're talking about will get money back into HVAC businesses' bank accounts, right? It's the ERC tax credit. And a lot of people have been talking about it. But, you know, for today's podcast, we're going to really give everyone the shimmy of what it's all about and how you can take advantage of it. But before we hop in, I wanted to first dig into your story because I love hearing how everyone got to where they're at today. Because at a certain point in your life, you were not a business owner. And I'm curious, like, what's that story of getting inspired and starting up your own business, just to kick things off?
Man, I mean, growing up, I was pretty, my parents were pretty adamant about, go to school, get the best education you can. And so I did not like school. In fact, I hated it, but I kind of eked through each grade because my parents really, it was important to them, right? And so I graduated high school. I went to college. I eked through with a psychology degree, and I had, I always wanted to make a lot of money, and I always liked nice things. I didn't grow up with those nice things. I just didn't know how to get them, right? And so I thought maybe you had to be really smart, or you had to be a doctor, or you had to be lucky. I just didn't know. And so I graduated college. I moved from the Midwest out to Arizona, actually. And this is back in the year 2000. So maybe showing my age a little bit here, but I actually answered an ad in the paper. And I kind of came into an office with a bunch of people who were like self-employed entrepreneurs. And anyway, long story short, I fell in love with that atmosphere. It was a young group of people. I was young. They were talking about making money, traveling, and all this stuff. And so I found somebody who became a mentor to me, basically. And my mentor at that time was very successful. And he started teaching me, not just about how to make money, but about personal growth and how to have better relationships. And he suggested books to read and things like that. And so I kind of fell in love with that, I guess, that type of education, because I never had anybody telling me that or how to get that type of stuff in my life. And I just kind of focused on it, right? I was self-employed for years. I was an independent business owner for a company. And then one of my good friends and I started a traditional business. And since then, we've probably had, 30, 40 different companies from all different industries leading up till today.
Wow, that's incredible. And I totally relate with you, growing up as well. My parents are all about the school. I attended school at the Naval Academy, and at the end of it, I said, this is not for me. I want to do something else. And, I think it's just feeling like you're meant for something bigger, right?
Sure.
And I feel like you might have felt that. It's like, there's something in me where I've experienced this stuff in the past, but there's something more out there that I can do with my time.
For sure.
And it's a leap, right? It's like making a leap from the employee mindset to business ownership and starting on these businesses. It's like, if you didn't grow up with it, there's like a chasm that you have to cross to build.
Yeah.
Could you talk to that? And like, how did you, I know you mentioned your mentor, but it sounds like it's a lot of inner work as well to work through.
Yeah, I mean, what you mentioned is right on, right? Like, I had a couple jobs in my life, like, in high school and then college, and I hated them, right? And I was like, this is it. Like, this is what I have to do is I'm going to get an education and then I have to go get a job that I don't like. Like, that doesn't make any sense at all. And so that's why, like I said, when I came into that atmosphere of a bunch of people that like enjoyed what they were doing, I was like, well, this seems weird. I like this, right? And so just having that type of atmosphere, having somebody telling me like, hey, you should read these books, you should come to these seminars. And back then we didn't have podcasts like this, right? We didn't have social media where you can get online and find somebody that is telling you things that you like. So today more than ever, you have the ability to have access to these great thinkers or successful people financially, or it doesn't even have to be financially, right? Like, you might be somebody who loves to cook. Well, you can get online and find somebody who is great at cooking. And like my wife, like, she loves to cook and she follows people that love to cook. And so you have access to that like you didn't have, 20 plus years ago. And so anyway, years ago, I wanted something more. I felt it within me, like you had mentioned, and I just let that drive me into a lot of screw ups. I'll tell you, like, nonstop. I sucked for years and eventually kind of figured it out.
And I'd say you figured out in a big way because, just some of the things you've done in the past, being a judge on NBC's Celebrity Apprentice, you're also an author now, and just being one of the fastest growing companies in 2020, that sounds like it's an astronomical leap. So it's because there's businesses who stay in business, then there's businesses who break through in a big way. So
sure.
I guess I'm sorry if I continue to dig about. I'm just curious,
you're fine.
Like, what is that really like catapulted you in a big way?
Once again, I really think a couple things. One, just having the knowledge, reading books, going to seminars, doing things like that for literally 2 decades, right? 2 decades of doing that. And so that's one thing. Messing up on a bunch of different businesses that just didn't, they didn't maybe go the way that you planned. In fact, they rarely do, right? And so as I started a business, I would kind of learn from, okay, maybe we shouldn't do that anymore. And then I also took what we did learn that was positive, and then I started applying to other businesses. And so, the Celebrity Apprentice, I was an independent business owner for a company, and they basically took some of their top business owners and had them be judges on the show. From that company, I created passive income, and the passive income led me to start investing in other companies. And so we invested in actually some restaurants, pizzerias. The pizzerias needed delivery. And so these were in like Midwest towns. And at that time, this would have been 2016, actually. And so in 2016, we decided to start a restaurant delivery service because there was no option there. Now, obviously, you have Uber Eats and Grubhub and DoorDash and Delivery.com and all these companies. Back then, those companies were only in large cities. And so one of our locations was Topeka, Kansas, right? So a town of maybe, 150,000 people, give or take, but no delivery. And so we saw the opportunity, and within a couple months, our delivery business was more profitable than our pizzeria in that town. Wow. And so the writing was kind of on the wall. And so we're like, okay, we need to get rid of these pizzerias and focus on delivery. And so we started building this delivery company, and we opened up in, Wichita, Kansas, Des Moines, Iowa, towns like that with a few 100,000 plus people. But once again, no competition. And so we grew it. At one point in time, we were servicing, if you're counting suburbs and all that stuff, over 300 cities across the United States, which landed us in Inc. 500 as, I think, maybe, I don't remember the number, but it was like the 400th fastest growing company within 2020. So we ended up selling a portion of that. We merged with Delivery.com, and we're now, I guess, the largest franchise provider for Delivery.com at this point. And so that's just one of our other businesses that we have. It runs itself at this point. That's kind of my journey. I didn't tell you about all the other businesses that were failures, but there's plenty of them. So.
No, and it's a beautiful thing what you said. It's like you always, even if there's a failure, you carry forward something with you. There's
For
the
sure.
lessons, it's the connections you've made when trying to build that business up. And It led to, being one of the fastest growing companies. That's absolutely incredible. And so so with all of that, how did the ERC tax credit come into play? Was this another company that you spun up during that time, or is this something that you'd been doing that entire way?
So that's a good question. And you mentioned something about the connections, right? And so I want to talk about that real quick, because that's kind of helped along the way, right? Is every business that I've met people and created great relationships. And for over 20 years now of being an entrepreneur, some of my best friends in the world are people that I've met along the way. And so we've created great relationships. And when one business maybe doesn't go as well, we still have great relationships. And when we start these other companies, we can bring a lot of these other people over with us, because we trust each other. We enjoy working with them. And so the delivery company, a lot of they came from previous businesses, but the delivery company, a lot of people moved over into this. It's technically a accounting firm that we own that focuses on the employee retention credit. Part of the reason we were able to grow so fast and have such a good internal team is because we took some people from other businesses and kind of put them into the infrastructure and the referral side and things like that, as far as the ERC. How it actually came to be. So the ERC has been around, it stands for the Employee Retention Tax Credit. This particular program is not new. It's actually been around for a couple years. It comes from the CARES Act, which right when COVID happened, it came from the CARES Act. Originally, people could only do the PPP loan or the ERC. You could not do both. Well, I don't know the exact date, but it's probably a year and a half ago, give or take. The government said that if you have received PPP money, you can now also receive this ERC. And so our accountant, who's been our accountant for years, over a decade, he also grew up with my business partner. They've known each other since kindergarten. And so him and a couple of my buddies, we all kind of came together and said, listen, we have a great network of entrepreneurs, right? We obviously have a delivery service, right? So we have restaurants all over the United States that we have relationships with. We have, name an industry. We probably have a friend that owns a business within that industry. And so we said, we should at least go out and tell them about this. And we started our accountant, Justin Jorns is his name. And he's the CEO and hence Jorns and Associates. That's him. Right. And so, we basically just started going out and talking to people and said, hey, listen, there's this tax credit that's available. If you qualify, the government is actually sending checks out to the businesses that qualify. It's up to $26,000 per employee. And so it's significant money. Now, back a year and a half ago, when we were talking to people, it was, a lot of people were like, they didn't believe that it was even real. Right. Yeah. And so, our rebuttal to that is, did you get a PPP loan? And a lot of people did, right? Some people got tens of thousands, hundreds of thousands, even millions of dollars. And a lot of those PPP loans, in fact, most of them got forgiven, meaning they did not have to pay them back as long as you did the right things with that money. And so by explaining that to people, it kind of opens their mind to, oh yeah, the ERC that does make sense, right? And so we just started referring a couple people, and they were happy with the service. We saw how much money they were getting. Obviously, it was very lucrative for us. And we were like, oh my goodness, this is unbelievable. I mean, it's still baffling to me today how much money businesses are getting if they qualify, right? So we just started spreading the word, and it grew like crazy. And we've only built it based on referrals.
That's incredible. And that from what you just said, there's a few things that opened up. But first, 26,000 per employee, like that's huge, right? That's huge for, let's say it's even a small HVAC company. Let's say we have 15, 20 people, and you multiply potentially up to 26,
right? Yeah. It's based on wages and things like that. But yeah.
No matter what it is, that's a sizable sum of money that they wouldn't have had otherwise, right? And it's just a matter of applying and seeing if you can get it. And that's incredible. And so I guess maybe one of the asterisks that you mentioned was eligibility. So who who exactly is eligible? Like, is there a certain size of company? Are there certain
Yep.
characteristics to this company? Is it because of revenue went up or down? Like, what goes into determining whether someone can even apply for this?
Sure. So I guess as far as eligibility is different than qualification, right? So eligibility is you have to have W-2 employees. They cannot be contractors. Okay. W-2 employees, you have to have more than 2 W-2 employees. And those employees cannot be owners of the company or family members of owners. So it has to have more than 2 and then less than 500 W-2 employees. And that's 500 full-time employees. If they have part-time employees, it's possible that if they're over 500, it's possible that they could be eligible as well. Okay. I can talk about qualification if you want me to, but that's just eligibility. So anybody that fits within that, in my opinion, you'd be crazy not to take 15 minutes to just see, right? Just take a look to see if you would potentially, and we wouldn't know qualification within 15 minutes, but we can have a conversation about their business, about our company, and about what the ERC is, and kind of get a good idea of if it's worth moving forward to take a look into it.
Yeah. Is that something that we could probably dig into, like maybe high level, like what goes into the qualification?
Sure.
Eligibility?
Yeah. So a couple things. First of all, you qualify on a quarterly basis. Right. And so there are 6 checks that you could receive. So you might qualify for only 1 quarter and only get 1 check, right? You might qualify for everything and get 6 checks, or you might not qualify at all. So there's a few things that our company looks into. The first, and this is the most commonly known, is a what's called a significant loss in revenue. And so what you're looking at is just overall revenue. And you're comparing 2019 versus 2020, quarter to quarter. So Q1 versus Q1 of 19 versus 20. And then it's 2019 versus 21. You're also comparing quarter to quarter. And so there's some significant revenue losses that you would need to have. Once again, I can get into specifics or not. For now, I'll just, if you have more questions, that's one of the things we're going to look at. Pretty much anybody who has a calculator can pull out the calculator and do the math on whether they would meet those parameters, right? This is where most people kind of end as far as their digging. Many CPAs, and there's some amazing CPAs out there that we've spoken with, but they don't understand the full details of this particular program because there's thousands of pages of legislation, there's hundreds of pages of guidance, and there's been a lot of amendments over the past couple of years. And so we talk to CPAs all the time that they know a little bit, but they don't know the ins and outs. And we have, I don't know how many, maybe 150 to 200 people internally from CPAs, tax attorneys, guidance experts, all these people that all focus on the ERC. And so there's no way that, somebody who's focusing on just a basic accounting firm is going to know the specifics of the ERC and the qualifications. So another thing that we look at are restrictions across the United States. There were thousands of governmental orders, such as a stay home and stay safe type order, right? And so our team, you could say, I'm in Arlington, Virginia, right? And our team would go, okay, we know that these restrictions were put in place. This judge put it in place on, this date, and it was lifted at this time. And so they already have all of that within most of the, any major city for sure. And we're constantly gathering more restrictions that businesses could potentially qualify with for that. We also look into what's called a nominal impact. And so the IRS says that if you can prove that you had a more than nominal impact due to COVID, you could qualify. Now, how they define a nominal impact is a sector of business that was 10% or more in 2019. And then that same sector of business was down 10% or more at some point in time during the pandemic. And it has to be pointed to government orders and things like that, which once again, our team already has. So I can kind of give a example. I mean, in the restaurant industry, it could be something as simple as, a business has, let's say 75% of their business came from in-store dining, right? And because of COVID, people were not coming into restaurants. They had to, some restaurants shut down for a period of time. Others had to go to only pick up or drive through or something like that. And so, if that particular sector of your business went from 75% down to, let's just say, 60%, well, that's a more than nominal effect because it's more than 10%. And so that in itself could possibly lead to qualification depending on the governmental orders and things like that. And so many people, CPAs, we talk to business owners with, very large companies that assume they will not qualify. And then we go through some of this stuff and we find out that they would. And obviously they're very happy when they're getting, 6 and 7 figure checks, some of them.
Yeah. And it's unexpected too, right? It's like, it's like an unexpected gift that comes in.
It's totally, like if you go from, I don't think I'd get this, or my CPA told me no. And then all of a sudden, honestly, any money above and beyond that is great, right? Like, so, yeah.
And I think one great metaphor as well is that, your CPA might just be like a primary care physician. And then what you guys are doing, like you're like a neurosurgeon, like you're very specific on one area of the tax code, and you built out a team around that. And it's just very tough to replicate something like that with the team and the insights that you've been pulling from so many companies.
Yeah, that's a great analogy, actually. It'd be like if you're having headaches, you can go to your general practitioner, right? And you can have them prescribe you some pain medicines. And that's great. But if it's more than that, right? If the pain medicine isn't enough, if you need surgery or anything like that, you're not going to want to go to your general practitioner. You want to go to your neurosurgeon. So that's an excellent analogy for this, right? The ERC is much more complicated than just, what your normal CPA knows.
Love that. And so let's say that someone who's listening, they say, oh, I'm interested. I potentially there's money out there for me that I didn't know that would be coming to me. Yep. How would they get started? Like, let's say they want to work with you. Like, what would that look like, that process?
So here's what we do. We take a fully refundable $2,600 deposit. If you do not qualify, we send that money back. Once somebody signs and pays to take our firm on, we then send a welcome email. The welcome email has an itemized list of what we need to start the process. And so it's going to be PPP loan and forgiveness if they got it, payroll, 941s. There's a question and answer about their business and, how COVID affected them. And so we gather this initial information. Once we gather that initial information, normally we have to go back to the owner or, we'll work with their CPA or their bookkeeper, whoever we need to work with. But once we gather all that initial information, we usually ask more questions. And so our goal is to maximize the amount of money that's available per client. And remember, there's as many as 6 checks that could be sent out. And so our goal is to try to get you 6. Now, obviously that doesn't happen every time. But we're going to dig and dig and dig until we basically can't find anything anymore. And so sometimes that takes a couple weeks, a few weeks, right? Sometimes it takes a few months. It just really depends. But within that time frame, we'll know down to the penny how much they're getting, if they qualify or not. If they don't, we refund. If they do qualify, we'll send them the information to look at. Assuming everything's accurate, they can sign off on it. Our CPAs then file. Once filed, the government's taken about 4 to 7 months around there to send out checks. The checks go directly to the business owner. Once they receive the checks, we then invoice them for 20% of the total, and then we deduct the $2,600 deposit that they initially put down.
Got it. Love that. So basically it's risk-free in a way where it's like you put some money down, but if you're not eligible, then you get that money back. But if you get it, you're only paying money that you wouldn't have got it otherwise if you never applied for it. And so it's
Correct.
Really it's
Correct.
Really a big risk reversal.
Yeah, I tell people, like, unless it's like it's just clear that they're not going to qualify, I've got no problem telling somebody that. It's like, listen, don't waste your time or ours because I don't think there's money there for you, right? Now, if you have a 10% chance of getting credit or of getting it, why not give it a shot, right? Because maybe there's money there for you. You don't know until we kind of open up the hood and look at what's going on. We don't know, and we can't make that. I would never guarantee qualification, even if it's like the easiest case. I'm not a CPA or a guidance expert, and so I have our team that does that, and I let the smart people handle that. I just bring in business and let our smart people handle it. So.
I love it. And is there a window for the ERC? Because it's 2019 to 2021. Is there a certain time where you can no longer file for the ERC tax credit, or is it just indefinite at the moment?
No, so we have another couple years, but the way that it's written is the amount of money that's available, which once again today is $26,000 per employee, that's going to continue to decrease over time. And eventually it will kind of fizzle out. The PPP loan, they had a set amount of money and it went through really fast and it was just gone. Yes. One day it was just gone, right? With this, it's kind of fizzling out. At least that's the way that it's written now. Could they change things? Of course. Yeah. And we don't make the rules. We have to play by them. And so if they change something, great. But once again, that's how it is now.
I see. So there really is, like, if you want to maximize the total amount that you could possibly get per employee, like, it's something that you want to take care of sooner rather than later. Also, because it's going to take 4 to 7 months for that check to even come. So it's in someone's interest to do it sooner rather than later.
For sure. That's the worst part about it, is that the length of time that it takes, right? If you signed and paid today, let's say it takes a month to determine qualification and get you filed. Well, it might take another 7 months just for the check to show up. That's 8 months in itself. And so that's the worst part. I mean, we get people like, hey, where's my check? Where's my check? It's like, I can't speed it up. That's the government, the IRS, right? So
hopefully with their hires, what was it like? I don't know.
87,000.
87. Yeah. Hopefully with the 87,000, they can speed up just a tad.
Yeah. People are like, well, does that make you nervous? I'm like, no, I'm excited. I hope they can get things done quicker. Right. Like,
yeah, we can't wait for 8 months. Yeah. So that's amazing. So so in case someone wants to reach out to you, what website, email, what's the best way for them to get in contact with you?
So the website is jornscpa.com. I don't know if they'll see the chat. I can write it in there. Will they see the chat?
Yeah, we'll add in the show notes.
Okay. So yeah, just jornscpa.com, JORNSCPA.com. That's the website. So check it out. There's a 5-minute video on there that'll kind of give you some more specifics. You're more than welcome to actually reach out to me and email me if you're interested. Make sure that you let me know that you found out about our company and the program from this particular show. And it is Mike, so MIKE at jornscpa.com. Mike at Jorns, JORNSCPA.com.
Got it. Perfect. Lock that in, and then we'll add that to the show notes for sure.
Awesome.
For anyone. Great. So ERC tax credit, it sounds amazing. Any last things you want to cover in it before we transition to talking about financial freedom, your opinion on it, and everything like that?
Not necessarily. I mean, I would suggest, I'll end with this. If you don't know about it, obviously look into it, right? If you do know about it and you've been told that you don't qualify, I would still strongly suggest you look into it, because there's so many, like I said, there's a lot of changes. There's so many different things out there where people are assuming they don't qualify. Some of this information is coming from CPAs. Some of it's coming from CFOs and CEOs of large companies. And many times they're wrong. Not every time, but many times they're wrong. And so why not I tell people, take 15 minutes of your time, 5 minutes to watch a video, 10 minutes to hop on the phone with an expert. And at the end of that call, you'll either go, yeah, I want to move forward, or I don't. I wasted 15 minutes. But what if you did move forward and you are qualified and you get checks coming to you? Why not take that 15 minutes? So anyway, let's go back to financial freedom. My personality is not like accounting or any of that stuff. That's why, once again, I'm not a CPA or any of that stuff. I enjoy talking about financial freedom and personal growth and that type of stuff a lot more. Not that I don't like talking about, helping people make money as well, but anyway.
Oh, and that's I'm about both as well. So it's like,
Sure.
yes, this will help, but really the vehicle that'll take you to wherever you want to go is going to be first, it's your personal development,
Yeah.
law the lid, and then also then that transition straight into financial freedom as well. So
Yeah.
to kick that conversation off, like so financial freedom, it means so many different things to a lot of different people. Like for you, like what does that even mean?
Yeah, it's a good. I mean, honestly, like you said, financial freedom is different for everybody, right? Um, I guess to maybe simplify it, it's being able to do what you want, when you want, where you want, and with who you want, right? I mean, that's that. I was pitched that 20 years ago, right? My mentor was like, listen, you can become financially free, and that doesn't necessarily mean you've got, hundreds of millions of dollars. But if you can do what you want, when you want, where you want, and with who you want, you're in pretty good shape, right? So sometimes that means you need to create passive income, or maybe you just make a ton of money and you're really smart with it. But that's kind of financial freedom to me.
And for financial freedom, is that sort of like a destination, or is it something that you're always working towards? Because, one thing that I've noticed with some people who are working their way there is, as their income increases, their expenditures also increase. And so what's going in is also going out. And so they never really get there. It's this hamster wheel of always working towards it. And
sure.
So, yeah, can you speak on that? And
I mean, what I'll say is, you should be able to, everybody has a different lifestyle, right? And so you should be able to be smart with your money. In my 20s, for sure, I was more focused on having people think that I was successful. And so I was buying things that I couldn't afford, a car. I had things that once again would make people think, oh, this guy's very successful. And I learned that's, like that was my ego, right? And so as I kind of got out of that, it was more like proving people wrong. I was like, people didn't think I'd be successful. So look at this. I've got a nice watch. I've got a nice car. And so to me, now I look back at that, I'm like, man, that was so stupid. If I would have just been smarter with that money, I'd be way further along. But, you learn your lessons, right? And so in my, I guess, early 30s, I was like having to fix some of those mistakes that I made financially. And then all of a sudden, I learned how to be smarter with my money. And so I'm financially free now. I don't ever have to work a day in my life if I don't want to, but I love the grind. I love meeting new people. I love being an entrepreneur. I love helping other businesses learn about this particular tax credit. I love teaching people about financial freedom and how they can also become financially free, because somebody taught me this years ago as well. And so I've got the knowledge. Should, pay it forward, right?
Love that. And can you speak to, getting to financial freedom? It can't just be someone who is stockpiling all their cash underneath their mattress, right?
Sure.
It's like, how do you,
it.
how do you, so you got to enjoy it. And also how does someone properly deploy this cash? Like, it sounds like in your case, you invested a lot of this money back into other businesses, which you helped to grow. And then a lot of your financial freedom came from that. Was that the primary vehicle? Or were there other things that you did, like, I don't know, stocks or real estate and like that?
Yeah. So, I have just basic long-term safe play, retirement stuff, right? Where just every month, X amount of money comes out of my account. I don't touch it. I don't even see it. It just goes directly into accounts that sets up long-term retirement where I'm just whatever, right? That's for the rest of my life. I have many other investments, from life insurance, obviously stocks. We've got real estate. We have land that we own. And so I've kind of diversified a little bit. And once again, if you talk about real estate, many mistakes for sure. But, so we have some real estate as well. Cryptocurrency, we have cryptocurrency. So we have got a bunch of different stuff. I don't love any of that though. What I love, once again, is building businesses and meeting new people and being able to collaborate to build something bigger than ourselves.
I love that. And you mentioned life insurance. Are you doing like infinite banking and velocity banking, that sort of stuff, or?
So a good friend of mine basically sells life insurance. He pitched me on it. I'm like, yeah, sure, here you go. So I don't know. I just did it to kind of help him out, I guess. But it's a long-term thing for us as well. I just don't like. I stay in my lane. I've learned over the years that I'm not good at most things. I'm good at a couple things, and I just kind of stay within those couple things.
Love that. Yeah, no, I just mentioned it because tomorrow we actually have an episode with someone speaking on infinite banking and how that works and how that plays into real estate. And so it's very interesting. I have a policy myself, so I was just curious, like, if that's something that you're doing too.
Well, I'm gonna have to watch the podcast from tomorrow so I can learn about it.
Oh yeah.
I've heard of it. I just don't know. I can't even speak on it. I don't want to pretend like I know enough about it. So
no problem. Yeah, it'll be fun. So great. So financial freedom, a lot of different vehicles that you're working on. And if you were to maybe distill maybe 2 or 3 things that someone needs to, because I feel like a lot of it also is it's a belief shifting game. I spoke on this on a previous podcast where there's a lot of beliefs that we carry over from our childhood that many times can stop us from achieving significant wealth. And so I'm curious, like, are there certain beliefs that you have, guess, like, unwound, or are there certain beliefs that you instilled that helped you to get there? Because I feel like our cap is really our mind and what we think is possible. And, we could be here, but then our beliefs keep us down here. And I'm just curious, like, what I imagine, like, it's been a lot of mental work over the years. So, like, what are some of those beliefs that you've had to work through?
I mean, that's a whole nother topic that I can talk about, but once again, to try to keep it, time constraints, I'll say that I think people are born to win, but we're conditioned to lose, right? And what I mean by that is, if you picture your mind like a keyboard, right? When you're a kid, your parents, your teachers, your siblings, people around you are entering information. They're typing on they're just typing. They can put whatever they want to in your mind, and you don't have any filter. You don't know what's correct or not or whatever. And so growing up, I always thought that I was stupid. I really did. I didn't think I was smart at all. And that's because my parents were so adamant. Now, they didn't purposely do that. I was loved, and but I was loved, but I thought I was stupid because I didn't get good grades, right? I got C's, which was good enough to get through, but my dad particularly wanted me to get A's, right?
Yes.
And so I didn't get that. And so, that created problems within itself. And so I went all the way through school and even graduating college thinking I'm not smart. And then I went to that, like I said, I met those people who were excited, and they were like, it doesn't matter how old you are. Doesn't matter your race, your religion. Doesn't matter whether you're smart or rich. It matters your work ethic. And if you just go, like, if you take this information and you read these books and you go to these seminars and you apply what you learn, you can be more successful than anybody anybody that's out there. And so I don't know if I was too stupid to believe that I could do that, or if I was really smart. I don't know. I got rid of that by going to these events and all that stuff. I kind of got rid of that I'm stupid type of mentality, and was able to become successful. Now I look back, I'm like, I know that I'm smart. I was just not interested in science class. Yes. And I wasn't interested in math and history and things like that.
That's powerful. And it's like that measuring stick when we're younger. It's, your entire life, where you could get into school and, the types of jobs you could get were so dependent on your grades. And it can be very traumatizing during that time. And so, I imagine there's a lot of inner work you have to do to get out of that and to shift that belief. And like, no, it's not that I'm stupid or dumb. Like, that's it. Maybe that system might have said that, but like, that's not necessarily what you could do without the entire system. And so that's so powerful. Yeah. That's so powerful. And so awesome. Well, I think we're closing up on time. I think we're about 40 minutes in. Is there any last pieces of advice or words of wisdom you have for everybody, whether it's on the ERC tax credit or anything in general that you want to share?
ERC tax credit, reach out to us. We'd love to at least have a conversation and see if we can help you out. As far as financial freedom, I mean, I guess I haven't even thought about this in a while, but I was taught years ago, these were like three ways to get successful. Pay attention to the right people. So find somebody who has what you want and kind of match and model that person, right? Like I said, today it's easier than ever to find a mentor. A mentor doesn't have to be somebody you shake their hands with. You could literally get on Instagram, you can get on social media, you can get on YouTube, find somebody that you like and listen to them and apply what you learn. So pay attention to the right people, get excited about something, right? Find something that you're passionate about doing. If you don't like whatever, don't do something that you don't like. Life is way too short. Do something that you love. Too many people are, waiting in traffic to go to a job that they don't like and whatever. Find something that you love to do. And then third is just never quit. Just keep going. You got to just keep going and eventually you'll find your groove. So that's my, hopefully that's helpful.
And one last question. So how do you pick the right people, right? I think that can be the tough thing, right? Discerning. I mean, I know there's something that I realized a few years back, and it was that the person who's the most well-spoken or the most charismatic doesn't necessarily know what they're talking about, but they're so persuasive. It's like discerning between, okay, this person actually knows what they're talking about and this person doesn't. And I guess like, how did you begin to, was it luck or is there like some clear thing that you look for?
Man, that's a really good question. And it is very true. Unfortunately, there's also, like you said, there's people out there that their intentions aren't great. And so for me, it's more intuition for me, right? Like when I get pitched a business opportunity, sure, I look at the numbers and things like that have to make sense. But if I don't get a good feeling about it internally, whether it's the person that's pitching me or just the actual opportunity, then usually I say no to it, right? Initially, like years ago, when there was a good financial opportunity, my gut might have said, no, you shouldn't spend your time doing that. But I was like too excited to make money. Now I'm like, I do things that I love to do. And it's an internal, I feel it, right? Like I either feel it or I don't. If I don't, I know because I've learned not to mess with that. It's not worth my time. If I feel it and it's something that I can get excited about, then I put my time and energy into it.
I love it. And it's something, it sounds like you refined over time, right? It's through experience.
For sure.
You can sense like, hey, this is something that's worth it, or this is something that I don't know.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, it's funny because the ERC initially it was like, yeah, we'll do a little bit here or there. Then the money started rolling. I'm like, oh yeah, I feel it in my gut now, right? Like this is really, and actually I had been looking for ways to get out of the delivery business and things like that. We actually had a business that we were working on and then we were months away from launch, but we were going to actually start, kind of transitioning, but the ERC thing was just too good, too much. It was just too good. Long story short.
I love that. Awesome. Well, I think that about wraps it. Mike, thank you so much for your time today. And I really enjoyed talking ERC tax credit, but also financial freedom. It's one of those things that if everyone could hop on that vehicle, they could really, build a better world for themselves, their families, their employees, and their communities.
Yeah.
And so, I'm super excited for anyone who decides to reach out to Mike. ERC tax credit would be amazing for you if you are eligible for it. But with that, thanks so much, everyone. We'll see you on the next episode. And appreciate you for your time. All right, take care, everyone.
Thank you.